The Awakened King DLC for Remnant 2 comes with a mountain of amazing weapons, rings, amulets, and mods, and is packed full of amazing options for build customization. And in this Remnant 2 video, I'm going to be giving you my top picks for the ones that stand out among the pack. Now these items have a ton of use when it comes to building a character, or they synergize really well with the new Ritualist class, so if you're invested in building a character in Remnant 2, I would highly recommend you pick up these said items. With that said, let's begin. So starting this thing off strong with my favorite item of the entire DLC, and that is Legacy Protocol. What this item does is it reduces skill cooldown by 20% and increases the skill duration by 15%. If you're looking at the footage that I have showing now, you can clearly see that I can maintain full heals at all times with this item and a few others. Basically, this item really gives skill builds an edge with cooldown, and it was so good that it actually forced the development team to cap the skill cooldown to 75%. Now, while skill cooldown isn't as OP as it once was a few days ago, it is still really amazing, and you can really find some really solid usages even after the nerf. Now again, I did say this wasn't necessarily specific to the Forlorn Coast. You can find this in the route as a general drop. Now I found it in one of the tower dungeons, so you can probably go look there, but to my understanding it's just more of a general drop, so you definitely want to get your hands on this one. So the next item we're going to be covering is the Sparkfire Shotgun, and this is the newest status-based shotgun in the game. It is inherently designed for the Ritualist class, but it's still generally a pretty nice weapon. It has built-in status application with burning, which is pretty insane. It also comes with 2 open mod slots, which is pretty nice because you can actually have up to 3 statuses purely on this weapon if you slot it out correctly. The only negative about the weapon is it is a shotgun, so it does have limited range, but the spread is really nice for spreading all those statuses. So a very well designed weapon. I think it's one of the better designed weapons in the game, and I'm a massive fan of it. If you haven't picked this shotgun up, I have made a video on showing you how to get it. It's a fairly easy thing to do, but yeah, go check that out if you don't have it. And again, another really high tier weapon I would highly recommend you pick up from this DLC. While we're on the subject of statuses, let's talk about the Creeping Mist mod. And this mod is fairly synergistic to everything that the Ritualist has. What this basically does is you shoot a canister out that shatters and it reveals an area of expanding mist, and anything within this mist will take 25% additional status effect damage, and they're 5% more likely to be struck with a crit hit from every source. Now, if I'm being honest, I think the team did a really good job on this mod. It's a really synergistic mod to, once again, the Ritualist class, and I really like seeing when mods are made specifically for classes, and status in general in most games are actually pretty underwhelming. So again, another mod that actually goes with statuses, and it synergizes really well. On top of being a really solid amplifier, it has really good AoE. As you can see looking at some of the footage, you have really solid AoE and you can cover pretty much the entire area if used correctly. I think the only negative of using this item is just the mod power. It costs 1,000, which can be a little heavy, but ultimately it's a very solid mod that I think you absolutely should pick up and use. The next item we're going to be talking about is the Monarch Long gun, and this one can only be obtained from killing the one true king. If you haven't defeated him or you want to know how to figure it out, check out this video here as I show you how to not only get this weapon but also his melee weapon. With that said, the Monarch Long gun is a really nice weapon, has really good rounds per minute, really big magazine, and most importantly has built-in homing. With the chain of command mod, basically it makes it so you can harpoon a target and the projectiles will fly towards the target and hit them, which is really nice. It also has a secondary function, which is whenever you're hitting the target with the homing rounds, it'll get influence. It will automatically reload the weapon, will send out the shockwave, and it will do increased damage. And on top of that, it has infinite reserves as well. So it's a pretty insane weapon if you can land the harpoon shot and just get the rounds out. Of course, you lose a little bit of damage, but ultimately it's still pretty insane because you can kind of just aim wherever you want and always land and hit the target. Really nice designed weapon, very powerful. The next item we're going to be talking about is the Whispering Marble Amulet, and this amulet is really solid. It grants you 3 stacks of bulwark, which gives you, I believe, 18% damage reduction, and increases all damage by 3% per stack of bulwark. Now obviously you can increase this to 5 stacks and get up to 25% damage reduction and up to 12% damage. Now the reason why I think this amulet is really good is because, well, typically when you're going with bulwark, you're going to either be like a melee focused build or a tankier build, and one thing that tank builds suffer with is damage. I think the greatest takeaway about this item is the fact that you'll have 3 stacks of bulwark no matter what. You don't have to have a condition outside of just having it. You're always going to have a damage increase no matter what you do. Sadly, I haven't used this item too much, but the reality is it's really good for tank builds, and an item like this definitely can see a lot of usages if you have a build around Bulwark. Next, we have Index of the Scribe, and what this does is increase mod and skill weak point damage by 35%. Now, to me, this item works really well with any Archon hybrid build, since you really want to like push mod, and is going to have skill weak points, so really solid item. As you can see on screen now, I am shooting at a target's weak point with and without it, and it's fairly significant in terms of the damage that you actually deal, so a pretty solid amulet. Not the best in this list in my opinion, but definitely a very solid option, especially for those hybrid builds. Next item we're going to be talking about is the Atonement Fold Ring, and what this ring does is it puts bleeding on you, but you get 10% increased crit chance while you have the ring equipped. Now, the bleeding is a little annoying to have on you at times because it can whittle you down a bit, but it does have a 10% crit chance, so it's actually pretty amazing. Now, while the bleeding can be a little annoying, there is some positives to it. If you have the Ritualist archetype, you actually have a relic perk called Purge. And what it does is whenever you use your relic, you'll actually put the status effects that's on you onto nearby opponents. So basically, if you use this ring, you'll have 10% crit, and you have a guaranteed way to apply bleed status on enemies when you use your relic. Now, this isn't the best synergy in the world, of course, because you do have to have a relic, but again, it does guarantee that you put bleeding on the enemy, so it's actually fairly nice. And again, you do get 10% crit with it, so it can really pull some builds together, and having such great synergy with the Ritualist really is top tier in my opinion. Next, we have the Tainted Blade Mutator. Now, this Mutator came with the Awakened King DLC, but it does something really nice. It increases melee damage by 5% per stack of Corroded on a target, and when you get it to level 10, charge melee attacks apply Corroded. Now, obviously, this is designed for the Ritualist because, again, heavy melee attacks will apply Corroded, and that's another status, but it's actually generally good for a lot of weapons. Spectral Blade, for example, has Whirlwind built in, and you kind of want to charge for that. The Coral's Axe has a charge function with his lightning overload thing it does. So it's a very solid item to put on, simply because if you're already going to do charge attacks, it works really well with it. There you have it, guys. Those are the best items that come from the Awakened King DLC. Let me know down in the comments if there's a weapon, item, or something missing from this list that you think definitely should be here. This DLC did come with quite a few items, so there's a good chance I didn't unlock every single one of them yet. But again, let me know what you think is the best items if I missed it in this list. With that said, that's going to be it for this one. Don't forget to like as well as subscribe to the channel. We have some builds coming up very soon, and I'll see you guys in the next Remnant 2 video very soon. Later.